Hello and welcome to our midweek conversation at First Baptist Sweetwater, where we strive to be the first responders of God's love. We're here in our new studio. I call it Studio Basement.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Jerry Hendricks, and I'm here with Teek Hamilton. Teek, we've been talking about making disciples here the last few weeks, and you had a great opportunity to do that last Saturday.
Yeah, we had the National Day of Volunteer Youth Ministry Training.
Is there an acronym for that? Because it's really long.
It is, but it's just letters, and then I've got to remember what it is.
It probably spells a bad word.
OVYMT.
Yeah.
There it is. But yeah, we had that. Had 10 churches involved that came over here and met downstairs and had some great TED Talks style training sessions, and it was really good.
Right. I got to hear someone for the first time, Albert Tate.
Yeah, love Albert Tate.
Yep, and so I know he's pretty popular. Apparently, I think I might be the last person that everyone else has heard him. So
people who weren't here, they didn't know him. So
yeah.
There you go.
Did you have another favorite besides him?
I really like Jessica Sanchez. I'd never heard her before.
Okay.
She was awesome.
And so they gave different talks regarding different things in working with students. What are those categories?
Oh man, they did one on deepening community, one about talking about race with students. One was practical discipline. I mean, how do you discipline in youth ministry? There were quite a few. Ostriker at the very end, Marco did. He did adolescent. I just watched one that he did previously that was on brain development. That's not what he did, but. Discipleship, maybe? He talked about Taco Bell, which made me kind of go,
yeah,
strike one.
You know, I knew that he probably lost some people when he shared his affection for Taco Bell.
Yeah, but his was more focused on that more individual discipleship, you know, that you're more one-on-one, so it was really good.
Well, good. I liked getting to participate. I say participate. I sat at the pastor table.
It's funny that you call
by
it
myself. It was mostly youth ministers and youth workers, youth volunteers. And so, also, great job on getting our volunteers in hosting.
Oh, they were the hostesses with Moses. They did great.
A part of the sparkly set that we're in front of is a result of some of that decorating and some of their hard work. But they were everywhere. I was proud.
Yeah, they did really good. Yeah. I couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah. So, good job, Teek.
Thanks.
Good job leading our volunteers and providing that for our area. And like I said, I was excited because it seemed to fit so well into where we are as a church right now. You know, we had a conversation Sunday night with a group that's walking or reading through Future Church together, talking about what vision looks like for First Baptist Sweetwater in the next few years. And so really an exciting weekend that has just really synced up well with our conversation.
Yeah, Future Church, Will Mancini, one of our new friends.
Yeah.
That was a good conversation.
Yeah. We'll have a couple of more of those coming up, and then other things that will spin off of that help guide our church in thinking about our this vision or constructing this vision discovery. I mean, I think that's kind of how we're framing it.
The first session we did introduction to the first 2 chapters, and Stacy goes, "This means the next one's going to be a lot of reading, doesn't it?" I said, "Yeah, but there'll be more time. It's okay."
Yeah, I've already shared with some of the people. There's some very interesting chapters coming up. I had, of course, I'm rereading it as I go through it, and on the same pace as our group. But I started pulling out some of those special chapters that I remembered. One was, I think, my favorite. Well, not say favorite. One that stood out to me was the church for the last 60 years, and that one's going to be a good discussion, just because I think some of us in that room have experienced a large portion of that 60 years, and all of us can definitely understand that evolution. Well, because for one thing, whether or not we were a part of that. A part of those years, the church is so slow to change.
Right.
It might not have showed up in our church, the shift, until like 40 years afterwards. So,
right.
anyways,
and not just our church, but the church.
Just churches in general. So, but on Sunday morning we talked about discipleship and the feeding of the 5,000. I did learn this week that I think I'm understanding how some pastors can preach for 50 minutes.
I don't.
Well, there's just so much else.
After about 25 minutes, I feel like it's rambling.
Well,
or you've told way too many stories.
Or you're starting your second sermon.
Exactly.
And that's what it would have been Sunday had I
Right.
continued. But one of the things that as we start to see things coming together, and it's been exciting for me in our church because you've already invested so much here in terms of your life and resources and tenure, and I'm just beginning to get into that sweet spot of experience with the church and the community and understanding it. And so the things that we're doing now are I don't even know how to say it exactly. They're easier to evaluate. They're
Right.
easy to prepare for,
Right.
and the results that we're experiencing are far greater than what we did my second and third year here. So
Yeah, I agree.
well, it's a blast, and we've got another busy week with things that we're doing and preparing for our fall. But
Right.
we've added a worship planning team, and I met with them last Wednesday, and working through some series thought through really up until Ash Wednesday, probably next spring.
Yeah.
And it's fun to have different people participating in that conversation and giving so much creativity to the process.
Yeah, I think that you bring more people in there, and it's also easier because then you don't have to do it all. You don't have to set it up
Right.
and set the stage. And
Yeah.
we talk about using a whiteboard a lot, and that helps a ton.
So this story of feeding 5,000 is quite a story.
Yeah, when you kept talking about the number that could have been there, I went back thinking about these people who are very literal about it, and that there's probably a segment out there that says, no, it says 5,000, so there were 5,000 people there, and it was only men that were there. And I'm like, but there was a boy there.
Yeah, there was a boy there.
So 5,001.
Yeah. I think the thing that struck me most after going through that passage was because I'm focusing on how we develop as disciples and how that development leads toward making disciples. Mm-hmm. And last week I shared the quote, and I shared it Sunday. I think we even talked about it in here. It was fresh off of Carrie Newhoff's
Right.
blog. That God or Jesus didn't command us to be disciples; He commanded us to make disciples.
Right.
And so there, and that's not just a change in the wording,
Right.
and
it
I
fits
think
with fishers of men. I will make you fishers of men.
right. And so what we're discussing in Future Church and in our messaging on Sunday is how does a church get to that place where they know that they are a part of the process of making disciples. And a part of it, I think, starts with expectation. But you look at the disciples who had just finished that experience of being sent out, a leading ministry as Jesus volunteers, and then they come back and the crowd develops, and then they get a real close-up view of that ministry on a larger scale.
Right.
And that's one of the things that struck me as I kind of read through that, because I guess I read it through the lens of knowing what they had just completed. And you just look at that process of leading people to that place where they're going and making disciples. That a lot of that comes through having that opportunity to experience ministry, performing ministry, doing ministry on your own. And in that case, he said, "You see the problem. What do we have?" And they knew that they had this limited amount of food. Jesus blessed it, and they distributed it.
They go ahead, send them away, Jesus. We need to get them home.
Right. Yeah.
How about we just fix the problem here?
Yeah.
But when you talked about like the context of it, I think that's something we miss sometimes in Bible study, is that we don't read the surrounding context of the passage, and it does pour a lot into that.
Yeah.
Or when we, growing up, you're in youth ministry, essential connections, that devotional,
Yeah.
and it always had the little paragraph you needed to read that told you about it, but then it had the passage, and it didn't ever connect that context. Context is important to the whole story.
Yeah, and the other interesting part that we mentioned Sunday is that's the only story mentioned in all four Gospels.
Right.
And so very much a memorable experience, so much so that each Gospel writer included that in their writings.
And it happens more than once.
Yes. Fun times here at First Baptist Sweetwater. We're glad that you've let us be a part of your midweek. We have a lot of other things that are going on as we try to do ministry through a changing COVID world.
Right.
But things start to look better and better week in and week out. Our kids sang Sunday, and they sang a song that they like and that they know well, and they sang out, and that was a neat part of our worship experience.
I don't even think they needed a mic, and you still would have heard them. They were
loud. Yeah, they came on strong. That was really good, and we'll look forward to hearing them again next month. I think they're singing for us once a month, and then our regular Wednesday night programs are coming together.
Mm-hmm. We're in Galatians, the third part of Galatians this week, talking about the fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah. So
going to use some grapes.
All right. You get to choose, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it goes with the story, but we did this back when Glenn Harrison went with us to camp one year, and apparently I bought some grapes that were almost ripe, and they had all started to turn, and so he takes the first one and eats it. He's like, ooh. But then part of the deal, he had to keep on eating it, so he's eating these tart grapes.
Well, shout out to Glenn.
Another one of our friends.
There you go.
Glenn, Will Mancini, Albert Tate, Jessica Sanchez, all close friends of ours.
Quite a crowd.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us this week. We look forward to being a part of your week each time that we gather together and have this little conversation. We also look forward to seeing you on Sunday. And until then, have a great week.
See ya.